Thank you, Peter, and welcome. Thank you so much. Question number one, how did you get started on this path of channeling?
How did I become a channeler? Wow, that's a great question, Amadeep. Uh, I've always been an empath. And I guess when I was in high school, I was at a party and the host's mother came up to me and said, "You should read the Seth books." And I'm like, "What? What are they?" And it's like, "Why should I read them?" I'm being told to tell you this. And it freaked me out that somebody is told stuff. And I read these books and they were interesting. But so that was kind of my introduction. Uh, Becoming a full-time channeler, I took classes on spiritualist classes, spiritualist churches, and that didn't work out too well. I mainly slept through those classes. And but it kind of through osmosis worked in there. And then I wanted to become a remote viewer, so I was practicing that. And while practicing that, one of the teachers said they had a QH quantum healing hypnosis technique session, and I went and had one. And during the middle of it, I started talking to Mira, an entity from the Pleiades, just like I'm talking to you now. And she's part of the advanced team to help humanity prepare for contact with their brothers and sisters off planet. And so she just kind of coached me up. And that was the beginning of it.
What is your process when you channel? Do you just get right into it like you're doing right now?
Yeah, it's automatic. It's 24/7. I'm not doing it at this moment, but I could just by opening up. So if imagine you're at a cocktail party and you want to engage a conversation, you just walk up to somebody and go, "Hi," and then you're talking to them. So I'm doing that energetically. Now, if I put my awareness away from you in this video, I can sense all the entities around me because it's a big oneness field. I've practiced at Oneness University. I studied there. It was beautiful. And so you just tap into the oneness field by being aware of it. And then wherever you put your attention on. So basically, if you know the name of the entity, or their energy signature, frequency, sound, then you just talk to them.
And can anyone channel?
Yes. But
So
it's
through
like, well, how
training.
come not everybody's channeling? And so the whole thing is a matter of focus. Uh, so, first of all, many of us, the whole planet, has been trained to believe that we are our mind. Okay, and that we're not our consciousness. And as such, our focus is whatever's spinning in the mind, the thought sphere. And so that's who we think we are. And as long as you've got that going, you're not going to hear anything. Okay. So the object is to quiet the mind. That's what awakening is about. That's what Oneness University was really, really helpful for. That's when I do videos. Uh, and you can go to my YouTube channel and you can receive awakening. It was given to me, and I've been blessed with the ability to pass it along. So, you allow that to come in, your mind quiets. And then you focus. And as you focus, you get more and more sensation around you. What keeps you from having that sensation is emotional blockages in addition to mental beliefs. But the more See, anytime you have an emotion and you don't express it fully, it contracts and you have this contracting energy. And that contracting energy just keeps you feeling in this state of emotion, which you can suppress over time. Many, many people spend their lives with suppressed emotion. So you suppress it, but then you're not open to what's around you. You're not open to the oneness field because you're in this contracted state. So you clear the emotion, instantly you're wide open. Then you just have to know you're wide open and believe it, and then you do it.
And you do assist with that, right? You do one-on-one sessions for clearing like out the energies and blockages.
Yeah, so my website is becomingawesome.one, and both my wife and I, Tracy, uh, we do sessions 3 days a week. We do them on a donation basis, so don't let price be an issue to help you identify and clear blockages. And then one day a week we do them where you can just pay for the session and not have to go on the big waiting list because it's months out. Because
Yeah,
everyone's like,
it's a long wait.
yeah,
But the pay sessions is something new you just started recently, I believe, right? It's only on
yeah.
Fridays.
Yes, just this past week we redid the website and started opening up new opportunities. Yeah.
Do people see the change within one session, or do they need to do a couple of sessions, or does it depend on the person that comes in?
So that depends on the person. I have seen instantaneous, miraculous transformation, and I've seen people, what I waste my time for? Okay. And it's kind of how much you allow, and how much you really, really clear. Because a lot of people like, oh, scary, terrible emotion, and they touch it and run away. And that's it. All right. And then other people touch it, let it go, but then they revert back to being their mind. And then they just let their mind go into the negative spin of, oh, this doesn't work. And they get stuck back in the rut. All right. So when we do an emotional clearing session, it's like we pull the clutch on the engine. So it's in neutral now. So there's nothing propelling it, but it still has momentum. And if you let your mind put you back in that rut, then the engine's re-engaged. So you have to actually consciously choose to have the clearing work, which means you let go of all your old crap because it's going to happen. Because the mirror theory, everything on the outside reflects everything on the inside and vice versa. So, of course, if you still have doubt, whatever is going to trigger that doubt is going to show up and put it in your face. And that's the point where you have to be your consciousness and go, I hear you doubt so many times. You've said this to me 15 times in the last 2 minutes. You've told me how this is full of crap. Guess what? I'm choosing this for my consciousness. And then the more you do that, the more the mind comes on board and the more that becomes your reality.
Is there a big difference between spirituality and religion? And when
Oh,
you were
yeah.
growing up, were you like, did your parents go to church? Were you part of any religion?
Yeah. So I'm going to plug my book first. I just finished writing the second book in my Ascension Handbook series, and it's called God Realization. And we get in a lot into the difference between religion and spirituality. And that's going to be available on Amazon or through my website probably by the end of May. So I'm not sure when this is going to air, but the end of May is going to be available. So I grew up in the middle of a religious war. My mom would go to increasingly conservative Christian religions, and my dad was Catholic hardcore. And so they both take me places behind the other one's back, and then the other one beat me for that. And so I was always wrong, and I was always laden with the sin and the guilt of all of it. And so that's the way religion was where I grew up. Now, I know many people have had beautiful religious experiences, so I don't want to diss any of that. I'm just saying that was not my experience, okay? And I'm not blaming my parents for that. Now, a lot of the institutions that are out there, yeah, I'm not so sure about them. You see that, like, for instance, the Catholic Church is being exposed recently for being a bunch of molesters. And they're always sitting there asking you to give money to every Sunday. And yet you go inside the Vatican and it's gilded with gold. They could feed the world 4 or 5 times over with the money they're sitting on. Anyway, so you see that, and that's just one religion. I'm not trying to diss any religion, but a lot of them are that way. It's like, give these huge donations but what? Anyway, so it's just like what I have found is the difference is control. And it's the power of trying to guide people to be an authority. And most of that is in the message that you're separate from God, which is my second book, God Realization, realizing, look, I'm looking in the mirror, I'm seeing God. I'm looking at you, I'm seeing God. Okay. And that's the whole thing, to realize that God is within, and that anything that separates you from that, have to go through the priest or confess or this ritual or give this amount of money to get a tithe or whatever it is, anything that separates you from your connection to source is not helpful. And that they call it organized religion, it's quite shameful in many cases. Now, I'm not saying all religions do this, and I'm not saying, please don't take my words out of context like that. But yeah, uh, it's a one-on-one deal, and it's on the inside, and that's where God is.
So I with religions, it's all about, okay, how you look. It's never about the inner inside. Like it's all about how you present yourself on the outside. You gotta, look a certain way, act a certain way, but they don't really teach you to go on the inside. And so yes,
Yeah. A lot of commandments, even the glorified commandments, are great when you're like totally in 3D consciousness and don't express your emotions. But if you express emotions, anything fully expressed turns to bliss, and then you gain wisdom. So if you cause pain or receive pain, it doesn't matter. If you feel the pain that's been caused or received, okay, then it's transformed and taken out of the field, and then you grow wisdom. And when you know that, you no longer do that to anyone else. But you have to experience it first. It's a built-in internal guidance system. The whole design of commandments and thou shalt and thou shalt nots and must pray this way and that way is to separate you from your internal guidance system, i.e., God within. And that doesn't allow you then to go out there and really understand and act as your God self because you're in connection with your God self.
So since we are talking about God, I kind of have a silly question. uh, is God a man or a woman? Like,
My favorite quote from Lee Carroll, who channels Cryon, is how 3D of you to ask that question. So when you get to total God realization, as I understand it, then you know that all of creation is divine, all of it, period. So tell me if the camera that you're using for this video, is that a man or a woman? Right? It's God. So now the question is, how do you relate to God? That's the question. How do you relate to God? And the reality is, you have to relate within the realm of your consciousness. So, for example, if you want to go talk to an ant, you could sit there and go, "Hi, ant, how you doing?" You could explain everything, and the thing's just going to crawl around and do whatever it's going to do because it's an ant. Right? Now, here we are, a 3D person with our humanity and our limitations from being in this state of existence. And we're trying to access something that's so way beyond, that's farther away from us than we are from that ant. Okay. So, how do you relate to it? Well, you relate to it any way you can get a grip on it. Now, for some, it's as a female. For some, it's as a man, a male. For some, it's not even as a human. It's a spirit or a galaxy or this or that. So, in my book on God realization, one of the exercises that I work with is called Create Your Own God. All right. And that's where you just make a list of everything you believe about your divine, everything, especially how it relates to you. And then you go through and you just cross out anything you don't like. God makes me wait for my prayers to be answered. God punishes, whatever you don't like, just scratch it out and then write what you do want. And then you start praying to that God because it's your own God anyway. And as you get there, it just grows and grows and grows. And this is a continual thing. God keeps expanding as you do this process. And then you get more and more in contact. Some of the most beautiful things when I first started doing this was God always knows what I'm interested in and sets up the answers before I ask the questions. God's always got a plan in place to provide me with abundance before I even start to seek it out. I'm like, oh yeah, that's the God I'm praying to. So that's where I started. Now I've got a more expanded concept where it's not like they're just dad in the candy store, right? Who owns the candy store taking care of me. It's way beyond that. But that's where I started, right? It's like, oh, I get to be the kid in the candy store. Okay, God, I want you to be the shopkeeper, you know? So, but the create your own God exercise, super, super powerful. And just go through your reflections of how you talk about anything and what limitations are you putting on your relation to your divine. Cross that out, make a new God. Because there's only one God, and God wants to relate to you, right? God doesn't care what you call it, God cares that you call it. Okay. And so it's going to relate to you like it can. Wants to make you happy. So you want to be a vegetarian, it'll serve you vegetarian food. You want to be a meat eater, it'll serve you a rack of lamb. All right. That's how it works. And you have that choice. There's only one God. The only difference is how do you relate to it?
there's a lot of craziness happening on the planet. There's a lot of hate, a lot of division. Any insights to what is taking place?
Yeah. We were at the fair for a long time and we had too much cotton candy and corn dogs and soda pops and we're puking. That's what's going on. This is the big puke. Okay. And so all the stuff, as we're moving to a higher dimension, then everything that's been stuck in the lower dimensions has to break loose. Shining light on it. And what happens when you flip the light on in a room? Well, one, if it's a clean room, you see everything. But if it's a dirty room, the cockroaches scurry. So that's what's going on. So it's, it's a beautiful thing in one sense. It's a terrible thing in that it hurts. And the reality is, the way I understand it, this is the time to relate to that pain. This is the time to really, really feel. Stop watching the news and complaining, oh, that bad shit's happening there, and start feeling the bad shit. Feel it fully, own it, because there's no separation. It's not just somebody else doing it. We're all one here, as within, so without, the mirror principle. Start feeling it, and you'll feel within you where you're holding it in the past life blockages, in your childhood, in the stuff you take unconscious. Express that, and it breaks loose. And then there's no energetic structure for the system to exist anymore, and it crumbles. The only question is, how long does it take to crumble? I mean, did you ever think when the dinosaurs went extinct, do you think they just sat there and said, oh, our time is over. We're going to lie down peacefully? No, of course not. They're going to go on a rampage. Well, who's the they? Well, the they is the you and I, because we're all connected to that. They're just playing those parts. And when we clear within us, then we change our timeline, our reality base, and it can no longer affect us. That'll be the first change you'll notice, is that all that stuff is going on, but it doesn't really affect you. It doesn't bother you. It doesn't even come into your consciousness or in your field or your reality. The second thing is, then it gets moved off the planet because there's nothing holding it there.
So eventually everybody's going to have to puke, go through this process. And it's
Uh,
different timeline for everyone, right? Is that correct?
you don't have to puke. You could just go there. I've met very, like, nobody who's just stepped into it. Oh yeah, opportunity to let go of all my crap and put on a new. Oh yeah, I'm going to go. I haven't met that person yet. But it's possible. It's possible.
It's
Uh, and you know, timelines are funny. All right. The timeline where we're all there in 5D already exists. Are you in it? And I can touch it at times, and I can touch the various layers between here and there at times. But then I do my 3D stuff. And that's the dance I'm dancing as I learn to become more. And that's the dance everybody is dancing. And when we get there, Spirit has told me when I channel and talk to them that if we do nothing and just sit on our butts and let things go the way they go, it'll be about 400 years before we're there. And if because it's we've passed the threshold, it's going to happen. If we choose to really do our part and embrace everything we hold and clear what we hold, it'll be about 40 years, which is really quite reasonable. I know people, they sit there and go, oh, I don't want to spend another 40 years in this pain. Do your fucking work. Quit complaining about it. Do what you need to do or check out, right? I'm not saying kill yourself, but I'm just saying that's what it is. Your energy of resisting that pain is what's holding it in place.
But what if you don't know if you're resisting, like you're stuck and you want to move forward and you're letting the emotions come out, but you're still not moving anywhere and you don't know if you're resisting it. How do you move past that?
So that's beautiful because I'm going to film a blog after we're done with this session. And the blog is going to be about soon is a 4-letter word. I've done my clearing, and you said it should turn to bliss. How come it hasn't? Right? Okay. So I'm going to address that in the blog. So let me give you a preview of what's coming up. Okay. Is that see, you're already in touch, right? You would ask that question now. It's like this. How can you not know? Right? If you're getting any resistance at all, then Now you don't want to admit because you make up reasons and stuff like that. So here's another exercise from my book on God realization. It's the second prayer. Okay. And the second prayer is super powerful. And so what you do is you get a notebook and you put 3 columns in it. Column number 1, whatever you're praying for. Now you need to pray correctly, which is a whole nother separate thing on how to pray. It's no longer asking and begging. It's understanding that you and God are like this, and you connect and do prayer with gratitude. It's a whole different thing, but forget that for now. You put down your prayer. What do you want? That's column one. Column two, when do you want it by? I would like this by Tuesday, $200,000 in my bank account by Tuesday. Column three, you go back and you look at column. YouTube does that. Whenever I put my fingers up, it celebrates and gives me balloons. Yay. Okay. So column three, you go back and you look at was your prayer answered on the date you requested it? If it was, you put a check mark by it. And if you don't, you pray the second prayer. Hey, God, show me why my prayer wasn't answered when I wanted it. And then you know. All right, you'd have to keep looking inside for the answer, right? Oh, but I don't know these things. You do know them. You just don't access them because your brain keeps telling you I'm going to be my mind and I'm not going to listen to my intuition and all that stuff. Right? But as you get good at it, the second prayer answers are pretty clear. And they're almost always going to take you back to the emotional blockages or the unconscious beliefs you hold. Like, for instance, when I said the example of $200,000 in my bank account by Tuesday, you went like this. You went, right. So it's like, yeah, I could tell your second prayer is going to include an answer like, I just don't believe that's possible. All right. So then you got to go back to what the other thing I was telling you about, where you create your own God. My God is so wimpy, it can't put $200,000 in my bank by Tuesday. Write that down, scratch it out, and say, I want the God that puts 200,000 in my bank account by Tuesday, and start praying to that God. So you do that, but also you have to do the clearing work on the inside. Well, what is it that I believe, right? That's going on my unconscious. What emotions are there? Oh, that this is a world of lack. It's dog eat dog. There's not enough for everybody. I don't deserve big, et cetera, et cetera. All the stuff that's been institutionalized in that crappy world I was telling you about with the dinosaurs, all the stuff that's been institutionalized to make you think it's normal that you should suck and not get what you want. Okay. So that those people who claim that they're being politicians or religious leaders can keep their power. Right. So you got to see through what they're doing and go into, well, how did I internalize this belief? And almost always there's some pain associated with from your childhood, from a past life. Doesn't really matter. You get one, you get them all. If you feel that, you clear it, then you put in the new belief. You choose to be a consciousness, not just this belief that's running on automatic. And then you do that. Then you pray the prayer again. And you keep doing it till you get your prayers answered. And at that point, you know you and the divine.
Peter, what is the most important lesson you have learned in this life?
This has been such an interesting interview because you asked me these questions, which are kind of fun, but I never really thought about them. Uh, I don't know. I would have to say yes. Because you're asking me to take a lifetime and express it in a sentence as one most important. And you're also taking with me, and I've been told, and I check in on this, that I'm an old soul, right? Okay. And so that, some people have estimated my existence as a soul for around 11 billion years. Okay. And when I check in with spirit, they go, oh, not quite that long, but a long time. Anyway, so many of those times I've been an observer. And I know this. I can go back into my past lives and look. So I was there, not when Christ ascended, but I was, in the vicinity at that time, and I was aware of all that. I've watched other beings ascend. Okay, Ramtha when he did it, Ezekiel when he did it, and then other beings in the Hindi tradition. Okay, I've watched them turn into beings of light and move. So, but I've always never been involved. All right. I've always stood on the sideline and watched. Okay. And then there were all the times where the hunger was deep inside me. So I can go back to the past lives where I was a monk and I did without. And I did things that were hard. And I did over and over, lifetime after lifetime, trying to get closer and closer. And those were all crap. I mean, but they got me here. Right. So you're asking me what was the most important thing I've learned after 11 billion years of trying?
Keep trying.
I said yes to your question, because what I've learned is that this is just the most glorious stance there is. And I am living and expressing the most glorious expression of me I can conceive. And it's sometimes I lose sight of that fact and it's hard and difficult. And other times I just go, oh, yeah, these are hard, difficult times. And I just burst out laughing because it doesn't matter what's going on circumstantially, because the source connection is so deep and fulfilling. So that's the most important thing I've learned is that, yeah, I've been wanting and waiting, and it's all available, and it's all available now. And please don't listen to this. Those of you viewing this think, oh, I got to wait 11 billion years to keep going at it. No, no, no. It's not like that at all. I chose to be on the sidelines. And now I'm here to tell you, you don't have to be on the sidelines. The energetics on the planet are right for ascension in this lifetime. Then you can have that experience and then move out of 3D as much as you want. You don't have to come back to Earth. And I'm gonna, because I want to live on a 5D planet and I want to want to play that ride for a while. It's going to be really fun. It's already really fun just knowing it's possible. So yeah, I don't think this has to go on forever. But yeah, so that's the second most important lesson. Oh, by the way, I think Eckhart Tolle says it, the power of now. That is the point of power, is the present moment.
I guess our purpose of life is to come experience and get closer to God. Is that why we're here?
From a 3D perspective, yes. Now, one of my teachers who's over my shoulder, Sri Bhagavan, and I've had many teachers, you can see all some of my great teachers are pictured around me, right? And because I love them all. But one of Bhagavan, he's incarnate in this lifetime, and he said, the purpose of life is for living. So the purpose of your mind is to explain what living is, but living is not why. Living is the doing in the moment. So if you want to look at it, the way I understand it is the divine was, how they describe it in the Bible, Alpha and Omega, be all, end all, that kind of stuff, right? Like that. Okay. So that's what the divine is, right? Now, when you're everything already, how do you grow? I mean, do you really want to play the punishment game of like, I'm going to move my toy soldiers around and make this one do that and then punish him because I don't like it? Do you want to play that game forever? I mean, that sounds like a kid, right? Maybe God did that. I don't know. God's laughing at me right now saying that. Yeah, maybe I did that. Right. So 3D of me. Anyway, so how do you grow? So what God did is it broke its consciousness. It fractaled its consciousness, right? So that, what a fractal is, that everything in one seed is in the tree, everything in the tree is in the seed. So God created a bunch of seeds and then gave them free will. And that means they could do or say or be anything they choose, right? And then that created permutations of unexpected events, because it now was different parts not knowing what the other parts were doing to do stuff. And then in the 3D realm, and just if you look at life on our planet, you're talking trillions of consciousnesses, because humans are not the only consciousness here, right? Everything is conscious. All right. But anyway, so you got all this consciousness. And on the 3D realm, you play the extra game of I agree to forget who I've been. So I come in with a total blank slate. All right. And I can do anything I want now. Now, of course, the people who play the control system say, oh, this is your karma, or this is what you got to do to get to heaven, or blah, 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 blah. All right. But now you can do anything, anything. So throw out your notions of good and bad for a second and just think I could do anything. All right. Now, remember that truth system I was telling you about, how it's internal and you just know stuff because you're connected? Anything fully experienced turns to bliss. And with that full experience, you gain wisdom, and then you open up your connection to source. Remember about being open and channeling. You complete it, you open up your connection. Source gains the wisdom. So now all of a sudden, if you just limit it to humanity, you've got 8 billion God bots out there trying different permutations of things, completing experiences whenever they can. Most of us don't, but a few of us do. All right. And then God grows and expands and grows and expands. And so if you want to attribute purpose, that's as good as any, as I like. And then you multiply that towards the other higher consciousnesses that are on other planets. And then you multiply that times dimensions and galaxies and universes. And it's like, wow, you mean I'm the cutting edge of God here? Cool. That's a pretty nice purpose.
Any message to someone who is going through a very tough time at this moment? Like they're going through a lot of pain,
So
suffering.
my higher self it wants to talk at this moment. So I'm going to just channel my higher self for a second. Uh, Dearest ones, we know the difficulties that you are facing in this moment. And first of all, beyond anything else, can you just sense the love around you? It's so hard when you are focused on the pain. And it's hard not to focus on the pain because it hurts. But can you just for a second just pretend and close your eyes and breathe in love? And not just from us, from your source, from all around you. That's always the starting point. And that's always how you're going to move past where you are. And please know what Peter had said earlier is indeed true. Anything fully expressed turns to bliss. So rather than just look at this, if you can look at a scale of 0, you're nothing, you're a victim, everything bad happens to you. 100, you're God, you create everything. Most of us live somewhere on that scale. If you're in pain, you're very close to the 0 point of, oh, it's just the victim, it's happening. Can you just maybe use your consciousness for a moment to say, whoa, I had a choice in this. I may not understand or appreciate why I am bringing this creation to me, but I had a choice in this. And just that little bit will empower you to move a little higher. And with that empowerment to move higher, then solutions present themselves to the immediate circumstance where you are, whether it's money or relationship or health. And you just keep playing that game. Oh, I had a choice in this. And that moves you further up the scale into connection to become your powerful being. And when you're a powerful being, guess what? You don't choose that stuff anymore. Now, I know it's really, really hard to sit there and believe, to even hear us say to you, what I chose is I didn't choose to be poor. I didn't choose to have this person break my leg. I didn't choose this car crash. And you probably didn't in your immediate consciousness mind. But in your unconscious and in the energy you hold, you must look there. Because the bottom line is you're either a victim or you're a powerful co-God creator. And what you choose then determines how you experience. You are breaking free of lifetimes of choosing that negativity, those difficulties. That is why it is so hard. You're getting it all in one lifetime, which is miraculous. And you would not be here if you did not choose to say, I'm strong enough to try this now. I can accomplish this. And yes, it is difficult and hard. Peter, he came into a lifetime by his choice with parents who would beat him for their religious beliefs, who sexually abused and tortured him because that was in their held consciousness. And he is not even far on the spectrum of people born into horrible situations. There's much, much more horror out there. The thing is, he understands that his choice was not to be a victim, not to learn a lesson, but to be a hero. He knew he could change his energy frequency and patterns that he has lived and expressed for so long. He knew that when he did, it would lighten the planet, the energetics would change, and it would be easier for everybody else to do it. He's on the hero's journey. And of course, the hero fights monsters and slays dragons. So we invite you. Yes, it's difficult. Yes, it's painful. Can you find the hero that you are? We know it. Okay, that's the message from higher self, myself here, Peter. I just want to say I work with lots of people. I do lots of clearing sessions, and a lot of them come to me really broken and hurt, and I still see God in them. You can present as much as you want with the difficulty and the pain, but I'm looking at this beautiful entity. It's like, wow. And of course, it's a beautiful entity, but you're just choosing misery because that's what you know. Anyway, so I just want to reaffirm that, if you're really pissed off by what you just heard my higher self say to you, that's okay. I see the God in you because that's who you are.
Thank you, Peter. That was beautiful. Beautiful message. Thank you so much. Yeah, so I have no more questions. Anything you want to add before we end the session?
Yeah. So a couple of things. I want to do a plug for the website, becomingawesome.one. Both Tracy and I offer sessions both by donation and for pay, which is a beautiful thing. If you're in Europe this summer or you live there or you can travel, check us out July 3 through 7. We're in Western France, beautiful retreat, incredible price. It's at this amazing chateau, this incredible castle. And it it's only 1,111 euros for 5 days, 4 nights, meals included, staying at a chateau, and spiritual workshop constantly throughout 5 days.
So,
Be a great opportunity. So check that out. Also, we offer classes. We got the books that are coming out. My Ascension Handbook, level 1, 2, and 3. I just finished level 2. It'll be published on Amazon by the end of May. Check for that. And we offer classes. In June, we'll be offering the Ascension level 2 workshop. It's a weekend intensive. So if this stuff interests you, the prices are pretty reasonable. It's like $222 for the whole weekend of just really getting a lot. If this interests you and you think that you can avail yourself to some of this, check that out. And lastly, through our website, we offer a community, which we do weekly meetups, which is really kind of cool. There's 3 of them, one in Australia, one in Europe, and one in the US. So different time zones, different times to meet. And we go into a oneness field and connect. And from there, we start to get skills and abilities that everybody has. So whatever one person has filters to the other one. We bootstrap each other up. And then we put our collective focus on bringing more of that grace into our lives. I've seen so many powerful transformations in such a very short time. So that's everything. That's all the plugs. Becomingawesome.one is where you go to start that.